I'm so excited to welcome today's guest, Lora Carlson. She's a business development manager for Collette Tours. And if you're not familiar with Collette, they've been around since 1918, I believe, with guided journeys that combine culture, connection, and unforgettable experiences. But beyond her role at Collette, Lora is also a passionate traveler herself. So today we're going to dive into not only what makes Collette unique, but also why travel matters so much on a personal level, and what actually inspires Lora in her own adventures. So welcome, Lora. I'm very glad to have you here.
Glad to be here too.
Great. So that day that we met in the coffee shop, we had, we had a conversation about how long you've been with Collette and even your own personal travel experiences. So today I kind of want to just talk about, why you travel, why some of the people in Collette that you talk to travel, and then sort of your role as a traveler with Collette itself. So the first question I just want to ask you is, what actually sparked your love of travel? Do you remember an early experience that made you say, this is why I love to travel?
I do. My family always traveled.
Okay.
So we would camp. We would go all over the United States camping and traveling. And then as we got older, then my parents started taking trips. They would go on cruises and trips around the world as well. And it was always so fun to see them and their friends having such a good time together and coming back home and talking about it and learning about these faraway places through them. And so then I became an exchange student right after high school, the summer after high school, to Spain. And that definitely locked me in to wanting to see more places and just the things that I experienced and learned and people I met. Really having a local experience as an exchange student made me want to have that again.
Where did you, in Spain, where were you an exchange
Madrid.
student?
Madrid,
Okay. My daughter did Granada.
Oh,
Yeah, she spent 9 weeks in Granada, so nice. Well, my daughter did it as in college, and she was minoring in Spanish, so that's how come she went. Did you do that in high school?
It was the summer after high school I went.
Okay,
so it was a
between
summer program. Yeah.
Okay, very good. Wow. So we have very similar experiences because my family camped and traveled across the United States as well. So
definitely you have a love of those national parks and being out in nature and hiking, and that's what I still love.
Not at the time, but now I appreciate it.
I remember complaining too.
You don't realize the value of the experiences that you're receiving. Yeah. So why do you personally travel now?
Yeah.
And what do you get out of the experience?
Yeah. Well, we, after I got married, we didn't do, big trips overseas, but we, always tried to go somewhere with the kids, just like my parents had. And then for my 40th birthday, my best friend from grade school asked if we could go on a trip, just the two of us. And so we went to Europe. We went to Spain and Portugal that time.
Okay.
And that's like, okay, I really need to get back and do this more and see this, because it felt like it was kind of a dry spell in between where we saw great things and did great things here, but I hadn't been in other countries.
Right.
So then when I got the job with Collette, then that made all the difference. I was really attracted to this position because it's all about travel, and I love that. I have a passion for that. So I always say it's absolutely my best job. It's my dream job. Never have had a job like this that I love so much.
Right.
And so it's just a super good fit. When you have a passion for, different people and cultures and learning and curiosity, then travel is a great way to do that. And I find that with the people we travel with too, they're very like-minded people that are on trips with you, because they're wanting that too. They're wanting to experience and learn and taste and just have a good time while they're out there traveling, but they can't get enough of it either.
Right, right. So has travel ever shifted your perspective on life, like in a way that maybe you never expected?
I think it does. It makes you realize, that people are both the same all over the world,
Yeah.
And, some of the unique differences, which as a traveler, you learn to relish those differences. When you
Yes.
find something that's a different way of doing it or a different approach, that's like a gem, like an exciting thing to learn about.
Yes.
But people really all over from, all the continents, they're really all the same people, and they're warm and welcoming, and not, they're not a reflection of their politics or of their past,
Right.
or of the wars that have happened. It's
Right.
just the people today.
Right. I've said this before that, traveling to Africa was one experience, but then traveling to Portugal and seeing the history, that's what, because I've traveled all across the United States, but we don't have that history here. And I like, the way people do things, not just in other countries, but even within the United States, how diverse we really are it's just amazing. And if you take that time to just experience the place that you're in, you really do begin to have an appreciation for other people, places, and how similar but yet different we are. Yeah.
An example of that is earlier this year I did Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos.
Okay.
And we were just fascinated watching traffic.
Yes.
And, that's usually a negative thing, traffic, but over there it was so interesting with all the activity and what people were carrying with them on their bicycles or their motorbikes, and how smoothly you could weave through traffic. I mean, it was just amazing to watch something as simple as that.
Right. That's interesting. We were supposed to be in Vietnam right now, and we ended up having to cancel that trip. So I've heard people say it's a beautiful place.
It is.
That, it's different and
Delicious food.
Yes, that's what I hear.
Beautiful. The history is very interesting. We focus like in Vietnam with the Vietnam War is what, we think of
the first thing we think of.
But there's so much history before that, and the French influence that they had for so long. I never knew that. I never knew about it.
And you did you learn about that when you traveled there? Is that okay?
Yeah, so when we were there, we learned about how it was a French territory. So some of their culinary, that may be why their food is so good. It's a mixture of things, but has a little bit of a French flair to it. It even changed their language in many ways. So they use the Roman alphabet. They don't, use the characters. So that was changed because of the French.
Very interesting. I did not know that. I don't know if you're like me, but sometimes before I will go someplace, I will do a little bit of research, just because I kind of want to know what I'm walking into.
Yeah.
But did you do any research before you went to Vietnam?
Yeah, it never feels like it's enough to really know, but I like doing that too. You prepare ahead of time, and that's fun and exciting to do, and then it doesn't all click maybe until you get there, and then you're seeing it firsthand, and then it kind of clicks. And then I like the review afterwards too, because then you're like, oh, I remember this or that, and you can even put more details to it after the fact.
Right. So if you had to choose, what would be your most meaningful or transformative trip that you've taken?
That's so hard.
I know.
I've been to about 62 countries now.
Okay.
And so been on many, many trips, and really, there's not a bad one out there. They're all amazing and fantastic. But when I'm pressed, the answer is Kenya. So going to Kenya and Africa, I know you mentioned that too. There's just something about Africa that I say it like touches your soul. It touches you.
I would totally agree with you.
In a way that you can't really even explain what that is. But just seeing the vastness of the the nature, and seeing the big animals living their life free, and I mean, the big animals, but also, the colorful birds and the small little things that are there too. But all of it, and the people.
Yeah.
I guess when I first went, I was thinking more about the animals, but it was the people that really had a lasting impact on me as well.
Yeah. Well, now I went for a mission trip, so that was a little different. And we were in Nairobi, but we did get to go out I can't remember where it was, but we did a boat safari.
Yeah.
And then we got to see all the, the animals up on the shore just running free. And then, the monkeys running across the road as you're driving. And things we don't see here.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And you're right. It's the people. And every time at one of my jobs, I worked with a gal who was from Kenya, and they just have this graciousness and this hospitality about them,
and a joy. They're happy. Their life is definitely very difficult and very rough, and they go through a lot. But there's a joy to them.
Yep. So, how does your personal love of travel connect with what you do with Collette?
Well, that makes it just a perfect fit, because I get to talk about travel all day long and recommend places. So what I do is I meet with travel advisors and train them on Collette, come out and do presentations for your clients and talk about our trips. And, so it's just amazing to be able to do that. And then I get to travel as part of my job, as well as travel for vacation still, and do trips all over for that.
How often do you travel with Collette?
Yeah, so with Collette, they usually take me on 1 or 2 trips a year.
Okay.
So they take all the sales reps on a trip so we can learn the destination. Last spring we went to Turkey.
Okay.
And that was...
I've heard it's beautiful there.
It is. Mm-hmm. It is. And it's the thing there that surprised me is how European it is. I expected it to feel a little bit more Middle Eastern, and it was very European.
Yeah,
in all sense.
Yeah, the things that I've seen, and I had a friend who traveled to Turkey, and it is very European.
Yeah. And then we're going to Australia next spring.
Okay,
so, those are great ways to. We need to learn them. We need to learn the destination. It's a hard part of the job, but we have to do it.
Hard part of the job, right. Okay, so for listeners who might not be familiar with Collette, share the things that they offer travelers, and how, I know we talked about how your tours are designed to create meaningful experiences.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. So Collette is really a leader in kind of changing how guided tours are done. Mm-hmm. And so we have really looked at what travelers are wanting to do. And our tours, we say we're by travelers, for travelers, because we who are working and creating the tours are travelers too. And so we want to make tours that we'd want to go on, that we'd want our friends to go on. And so today's trips have to be different than they were 20 years ago. Today, travelers are looking for experiences that they can't get anywhere else. Mm-hmm. So we need to find, and we do find, local experiences, small group experiences, special meals that we'll have that are going to be great experiences. And all of that with enough free time as well, because part of some of the best parts of travel are when you fall into something. You're wandering a street and you find something that's just fabulous, or you sit in a particular place and have a glass of wine, and or an interaction with a local. So a guided tour today with Collette is not being busy every minute. It's going to have those free times where you can explore and do some things on your own, and that's a really important way. Every day needs to be new and different. It shouldn't be a pattern of, every morning we're going to do this, every afternoon we're going to have this type of activity, that gets old. So we really work hard to make it new and different and unique every day, so that you're like, wow, this happened, that happened. Yeah.
And I'm assuming you have a lot of repeat travelers because of that?
We do. So once people start traveling with us, they, tend to fall in love with what we do, because we do a really, really good job with it, the way we do it, the quality of our tour managers, the hotels. So yeah, people come back again and again.
So, Collette, like you said, or like I said, I believe I was right. 1918
Yes.
was when they had their first tour.
Yeah.
What do you think makes the company so timeless and relevant today?
Yeah. I think it's the family. It's a family-owned company,
Right.
so they are committed to change and to continually work at getting better, and so they're not complacent about anything. We really look to our travelers to give us feedback and then take action on that. So we're going to look at everything we can do to make something better. But we also do everything directly, which means we have people on the ground all over the world. And so then they're designing the tours. So the person that designs the tour in Italy lives in Italy. So they're looking for things that are going to make our travelers fall in love with the country and be super wowed and excited. So they're on the ground. And that helps when there's any kind of any situation that may happen as well. We have people on the ground to take care of any kind of emergency or anything that might happen in today's world. And so that's comforting to know as well, that we can swoop in and take care of whatever situation might come up.
Yeah, that does sound like they're trying to stay relevant. So that's great. So give me a couple of tours that Collette might offer that stand out as unique, like maybe whether you personally experienced them or things, just right now, what are a couple of tours that are unique, you think?
Well, we have a series of tours that are small group. And so we call them explorations, and they only take 24 people. Those are my favorites personally, because they're doing things that are a little more off the beaten path, and with a smaller group, we can go to smaller restaurants and hotels and have more interaction with the tour manager too, so we get to know them better. So I love those in particular. And one of the areas that is just super popular right now is Japan.
Okay.
And so on our small group Japan tour, we have some, again, really great inclusion. Some things that you might expect, like a tea ceremony and learning about the geishas. Those are kind of expected things for most people. But we also have another experience we do where we learn about the pearl divers.
Okay.
And maybe you've heard of them. These are women who have, with training and over years, have learned to hold their breath to be able to free drop dive underwater to get pearls.
Never heard of that.
Yeah, and it's a tradition that's actually kind of dying out now.
Okay.
But by doing that, over the last 100 years, these women have actually kind of flipped society, where they were the breadwinners, and women can do it so much better than men because of their capacity to hold their breath, I guess.
Interesting.
And also to stay longer in the water.
Okay.
Because we have a little bit of extra fat layer that keeps us warmer in the water.
Certainly.
Yeah. So we actually go and we meet with a pearl diver to learn about this and some of their traditions and how they teach their daughters and how it changed their society, where the men would stay home and take care of the babies and things, because their job was more needed to go out and do the diving.
Interesting. Yeah, I know Japan's a hot location. I know right now. Japan, and it seems like a lot of people are traveling to like Vietnam and Thailand and places like that too.
Yes.
And South Korea.
Yes.
Seems to be an up and coming place to go as well.
And our Japan tour actually includes South Korea. So we spend 4 nights in South Korea.
Okay.
And we get to meet a family that crossed over from North Korea and learn about their experience, to sit down and talk and ask questions. And meet with them.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of really great cultural interaction that we have with locals on that tour, as well as many of the other ones.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. So one thing that I know that some of my clients like the guided travel, because takes the stress out of planning, even though I can do that for them.
Yeah.
But also while you're traveling, you're not on your own. And if you're in a foreign place, they really want to be guided. Like I will probably take a guided tour at some point, and I always sort of just pushed against it.
Mm-hmm.
But if I could have those local experiences. So kind of talk to people like me who have thought, the guided tour is not for me. So What would you say to someone like me?
Yeah, I would say that there's, stereotypes that people have about what guided tours used to be and think that they still are. But those are kind of from our grandparents' days,
Yeah.
And what the stereotype is, that you're on a bus all day with a guide doing everything together. And then you get to the hotel and have a buffet dinner and go to bed and do the same thing. And that's not what it's like today. So one of the things I would emphasize is the camaraderie that you have on tour.
Sure.
So you have the tour manager who is truly an expert. They're from the area that they're in. So they're able to tell you their family stories and answer questions and really bring it to life for the group. But all the other fellow travelers people don't think about, or if they do think about it, they might think about it in a negative sense. But really, I found in my travelers that I talk to all the time, they make such good friendships.
Right.
And it's so fun to sit down together at dinner, at breakfast, and just say, hey, what did you do during your free time? Or where else have you traveled? And you just end up really having a richer experience because of the people that you're traveling with. And so I'd also say, if you're wanting to travel completely on your own, how would you feel about traveling with maybe 8 other couples? That's not that many other people, and you're going to, have so much more added to your trip without any of the hassle.
And, to that point, particularly, like last year, I went on a cruise and there was 6 couples, but there's 14 of us all together, something like that. And that was a nice size group. And I see that all the time where people are traveling, they get 6 or 7 couples together and they travel together. So, you could do that and then meet new people.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah,
new people and have friends in other parts of the country that you can go visit, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we met people, must be at least 10 or 12 years ago now on a trip that we did, and we still travel with them today.
Yeah, the one thing that I have found that amazes me is when you are traveling like that and you end up finding somebody from your town or a town that's not that far away from you, and you're like, I'm all the way across the world and we live in the same place. It's kind of crazy.
There's been some amazing coincidences that have happened when you travel, that you run into people that you know or something like that.
Right. So have you ever seen guests maybe their perspective, their life perspective change while they're on a tour, whether that's someone someone that's, gone on one of the tours that you've traveled with? Is there a story or two that you might be able to share or think of right off the top of your head?
Well, I could tell the story of my daughter.
Okay.
I don't know if I've talked to you about that.
No, I don't think so.
And she didn't go on a Collette tour, but it definitely has changed her life. She went on a trip by herself. She was a completely solo traveler on a cruise, and she actually loved it. She loved being by herself and being able to read and crochet and just hang out on her own and not feel pressure of having to be around other people when she didn't want to. But then when you want to be with people, there's plenty of opportunities to do that.
Yeah.
And there's things that they do for solos.
Yeah.
And so on a cruise, she ended up meeting a man who was also solo on the trip, didn't know a soul. They both had gone completely solo. And a nice extrovert kind of got everybody together and said, come eat with us, have a meal with us. And they met, they fell in love. and they're getting married in January.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So that's a big life.
That's a
life
big
shift,
life.
isn't it?
Yeah. But she was brave enough to go on a trip all by herself,
Right.
which I commend. And so many singles do. Or not even that they're singles, we should call it solo, because maybe they have a partner, but their partner doesn't like to travel. And so I'm always so impressed with people traveling solo, regardless of what their situation is. They want to travel. They want to keep that passion going.
My sister is in that situation where her husband doesn't like to travel.
Yeah.
And right now, she's been traveling a lot with my mom lately. They're in Hawaii right now. But yeah, I mean, I've even said before, I have no problem solo traveling. You know, I was on my own after a divorce and stuff. And so I'm just going to go explore the world.
Yeah.
Now, I've never traveled overseas by myself. I would. I'm not scared to do it, you know. But I unfortunately have somebody who does enjoy traveling with me. But for some reason, traveling alone seems so scary to people. And I love it because, like what your daughter said, you get to do whatever you want to do whenever you want to do it and not have to be at anybody else's mercy.
Right.
You can talk to people. People don't have to know that you're traveling solo. You know, you can just go to a coffee shop and sit if you want to. You can go explore whatever you want to do. But yeah, I would highly encourage people to travel solo if they really want to and they don't have somebody who can travel with them.
And a guided tour is an excellent way to do that too, because there's so much that's included. But again, you can be a part of things or not a part of things depending on what you want that day.
Yeah.
And almost every trip I've done over these 17 years with Collette, there's almost always singles.
Yeah.
And so don't be afraid to do that. It's great.
Right. So we talk a little bit about people, and I notice this as well, and it's one of the reasons I do what I do. People travel differently now. And what would you say has changed even in the last 5 years? You know, especially I know pre-COVID, it didn't seem like people were as they traveled differently. And then I think something happened and we realized that travel is really important to us. So what have you seen different?
Yeah, there's a phrase that kind of describes that, which is revenge travel.
Yeah, exactly.
Where people feel like, oh, they missed out. They didn't get to travel those years. And like you said, it is really important to them. So they are going at it with a vengeance to make sure they get to see and do the things that they want to do or didn't get to do for that time frame. And especially for someone who's, you know, empty nester or retired, you know, you want to make the most of your time to be able to do and see things.
Right.
Then another change I've seen that has made travel easier is that credit cards are widely accepted now.
Yeah.
And it used to be a little more hit or miss, but the pandemic really made it so everyone wanted to be cashless.
Yes.
And so that makes it super simple when you travel now. You don't have to get a lot of local money. You can simply use your credit card.
Yeah, I noticed that when I was in Portugal that most places took credit cards. There was only a couple of places that were requesting cash. So, yeah, I guess I haven't really traveled a lot overseas. That's going to change.
Yeah.
So, what advice would you give someone who wants to move beyond just checking destinations off a list and instead travel a little more meaningfully? Now, I know we kind of talked about that with the experiences, but let's say just if you weren't working for Collette, what would you tell someone that says, like I think about some of these honeymooners and how, everyone has their picture of what their vacation should look like. What advice would you offer to people who are really looking at creating an experience, or instead of just, okay, I need to get this checked off my list? What would you offer?
Yeah, I'd say slow down. So spend more time in each place that you go to. So not just, hurrying off, not just getting the Instagram pictures of the Eiffel Tower and this and that and moving on, but actually, spend more time there. Have a pacing that's a little bit slower, so that instead of hitting, 4 countries, maybe you could do 2, but really get to know those 2 countries and then go back at another time for a more in-depth experience. But otherwise, you're going to be rushed, you're going to be stressed, there's going to be a schedule. And so just taking it a little bit slower to enjoy. And like I said earlier, having those moments where you can wander and just find unusual, interesting things as you go about your day.
So how would you, I know Collette builds this in, but even on those days, even on a tour that they're taking, how would you advise someone to really immerse themselves in the local where they're at the moment? How can they find where the locals go?
Yeah.
To really see what they experience.
Yeah.
Because let's face it. I live in Springfield, and we've got the Lincoln Museum, we've got the Lincoln's Home, and I live here. That's not where I go. I've been there and I've done that, but if you want, so how do you get infused into the local culture so that you can really experience it and not be afraid to do it?
Yeah, I think it has to be intentional for sure.
Right.
And when you were saying that, I was thinking, well, as I travel about the state all the time with my job, and if I'm in an area, I'm going to tend to go to a restaurant I'm familiar with rather than the local place. And I always like it when I'm meeting with someone and they take me to a local place, because then I'm like, oh, I wouldn't have tried this on my own, but I'm so glad we got to do this. Now I know I can go there.
Right.
But I guess if I had, researched the town a little bit more, maybe have checked out where the good places are, I would venture out a little bit more. But on a trip, it's asking the right questions, asking the people at the front desk, or if you have a local guide that you're with for part of your trip, where are the local places to go? Where would you go for dinner tonight? And then trying to do that, which is going to be maybe a little bit more away from the touristy areas. So when they always say, like in Italy, if you see fettuccine Alfredo on the menu, it's not a local place, because that's not something that they actually serve. That's an Americanized version of Italian food. So, and I have seen that on menus and stuff. So it's like, okay, this isn't maybe the most authentic place to go to.
Right.
There's so many things on YouTube, videos and things that you can learn a lot about the destination before you go and get some recommendations of places to visit. But asking those questions, or just looking to see who seems to be sitting in that restaurant. Do they look like tourists or do they look like locals? And finding the unusual things to do. You have to Google and check things out a little bit more if you're doing it on your own. Again, when you're on a Collette tour, you have the tour manager who could let you know those quirky places to go or interesting places to go along the way.
Now, when I build a trip for somebody, I will go out and do what I can to try to find, what are the recommended places to go, for a place to eat. Now I even do it sometimes when people are asking for an all-inclusive, and it just depends on where they're going and whether it's actually safe to leave the the resort or not. But I try to do a lot of research and try to figure out, this would be a different experience for you than someone else coming here. If that's what you really want. You want to experience great food, then go outside the resort. That's usually what I say, at least for one meal, if you can. So and it's not just about the food either, but I really try to think, of course I have to consider who I'm, building the itinerary for, but I just feel like it's so important for you to really go and see the local area, to understand where you're at. And, I used to think, going to an all-inclusive, but you know what? Some people just don't want to have to worry about anything. Mm-hmm. And then they just want to go sit on the beach in the peace and quiet, mm-hmm. enjoy the sunshine, and just rejuvenate that mm-hmm. way. So, is there anything else that you can think of that you would like to share about Collette, or your time with Collette, or...
Yeah, it's just, again, been an amazing career with all the places that I've gotten to see and experience. And one of the things Collette does is, on our small group trips, we always have what we call an impact moment. And an impact moment is something that we have set up that's going to be something that's, doing good for the local people, the local community, something a little bit extra like that. And it could be everything from, we're going to go to a restaurant for a meal where they have people who are recently released from prison and trying to learn a new career.
Okay.
So we do that. It could be in Kenya. We actually got to use a slingshot to shoot these seed balls into the natural area that had seeds of indigenous plants to help get some new plants growing in a particular area. Or I think one of my all-time favorite and so different experience was in Cambodia. We went to this place called Popo, and it is about hero rats.
Okay.
Hero rats. I know.
All right.
Hero rats are specially trained. It's a special breed of rat that's been trained, that's trainable, that has a long enough life to train and get use out of it. And they sniff out bombs and things like that are still in the ground in that area of the world.
Thus the name Hero Rats.
Right.
Okay.
And they're light enough that they don't set off any of the things that might be buried there. And they can actually smell 3 feet down. So they're trained for the smell. And
That's
so they go out with handlers, and they can clear an area the size of a tennis court in 30 minutes. And if we were doing that if you were trying to do that without the rats, just with humans, with metal detectors and things, it would take 4 days.
Interesting.
Isn't that? And that was so amazing to me to learn about them. I was fascinated.
So that's interesting that you bring that up, because the last gal that I was talking to, I was saying, how can we infuse ourselves into a place where we can actually go and maybe help? Because the story I told was about when I took a Girl Scout troop. We took them to Minnesota. They wanted to go to the Mall of America, and I was like, well, you've earned all this money. It's not about going to shop. We need to go and see what we could do to do good for someplace local. And we ended up going to a place called The Bridge, I think it was, where the girls, it was a halfway house for runaways. Mm-hmm. And of course, we couldn't interact with the kids, but we went and planted, they needed flowers planted. So the girls went and did that. So I think that's great that those kinds of things, those kinds of experiences are offered so that you can actually help beyond just the tourism part of going someplace.
Right. You're learning about it and also learning about the tremendous need that they have. Because there still are landmines that are out there in the rural areas, and that there's an organization like this that's really making a difference. So yeah,
that's fantastic.
Really cool things.
So what, if somebody wanted to plan like a tour and they had, let's say, 10 couples that they just wanted you guys to do a tour for them, do you do those kinds of things?
Yeah, so we have over 170 itineraries, planned itineraries all over the world to 7 continents.
Okay.
And so they would look at one of our itineraries to see which one matches what they'd like to do. So they are planned itineraries. We do some custom things once a group has a history with us.
Mhm.
We could do something more customized for them. And then they can either join a group of people. That's going to give you the best price to travel with others on the group as well. But we do private touring also. So if they wanted their tour to just be their 10 couples, we can do that for them too.
Okay, well, that's good to know. That's good to know. I'm working on, directing people to look at your Collette Tours, and keeping an open mind. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, I really thank you so much for sharing both about your personal travel and actually the heart behind Collette. I really enjoyed our day at the coffee shop, and I learned a lot about, Collette itself and more about tours and how they operate. So the last question I have before we close this out is, what if somebody wants to, how does it work if somebody wants to plan a bigger group, or if somebody wants you to come and talk with a group? How does that work with you?
Yep, that's what I do. So I help you put together groups. If you're looking to form a group, we have great group policies to give you time to promote, as well as materials that we give you to help you promote your group, including a PowerPoint presentation that I can come out and give to people to tell them all about that destination and get them excited to go. And group travel, especially when you're traveling with a group of people from the area or that is a great way to go. You deepen your relationships with them, and it's just a really nice way to do it. People like traveling again together with people from their area. So if anyone's thinking about a group, they should work through you. We always want to encourage everyone to work through the travel agent, because you're able to give them even extra care by being right here. Right.
Well, I know our listeners has probably learned a lot today, and I really appreciate you coming again and talking with me. And I hope that we're going to be working together with some groups, or sending some of my clients to check out the Collette Tours. So thanks, Lora, for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.